All right, so welcome to this 5 minutes of fire. This is the last tool that we're going to cover, and I'm actually going to cover these last two tools together. These are the tools that I put together to help you with incident management and doing size ups and assigning resources and doing the type of tactical scenarios that are very common in assessment centers. You really need to be prepared for these, and you need to have a systematic process in place because you're likely not going to know what they're going to throw at you. It could be a fire in a building. It could be a wildland fire. It could be a motor vehicle accident. It could be a mass casualty incident. It could be a hazmat situation. There's a whole list of stuff that they could throw at you. So don't get too caught up in trying to figure out all the little details of what could happen. That could be helpful, but more importantly is make sure that you have a sequential way of doing this every single time. And so these role play size up sheets are a simple, basic, foundational way to manage any type of scenario. And then specifically, I give you a template to follow for structure fire, one for wildfire, and one for motor vehicle accidents. You could still use this same flow for a hazmat, for a mass shooting, for a flood, whatever type of situation they throw at you, you could still use these steps. Just on these sheets is the language and the resources and the terminology. There's a little bit of variation with that. So the most basic part of this is that realize there's a lot of size up sheets that can get really complicated and overwhelming. And I've gone through quite a few of them in my own experience, to where I've seen a lot of them where there's it's hard to follow all the stuff that they give you. It's hard to follow it when you're just doing it informally. And then it's even more hard to follow if you show up on scene of emergency incident and you got a lot of radio traffic, you got a lot of bystanders that are panicking, you have a lot of time sensitive actions that you have to take. And so keeping it at the most fundamental basic level is designed so that if you start to panic, if you kind of lose your focus, fall back on these fundamentals. There's a saying is that you won't rise to the occasion, you will fall to the level of your training. And so if you have this foundational training, it's a safe platform to make sure, even if you kind of botch a scenario, you're not going to totally fail it. So even if you give the most basic size up and you don't get like any great accolades for how great it sounds, you could still hit those basic benchmarks and hopefully still navigate through that test. Ideally, you start with the foundation, and it allows you to just have this framework that whatever the situation, you just have this systematic approach, and you realize that there's nothing new under there's nothing new under heaven, or there's no emergency that exists that hasn't happened to some extent before. So even though it's dynamic, even though there's a different time and place for stuff that's going to happen, when dealing with emergencies, there's certain predictable patterns that are going to happen, and there's certain priorities that are going to hit, that need to be hit on the scenario. So enough on that. The basic part is, so I'm actually going to go a little bit longer than 5 minutes because I'm covering two here. So I'm going to stop this clock. If you're watching the screen, I've got a time clock. I'm not going to go much longer, but I want to just, I don't want that timer going off in the middle of it. So so going to that, the basic part is that all size ups can be summed up as a CAN report. A CAN report: condition, actions, needs. What are the conditions that you're seeing? What are the actions that you're going to do? And what is it that you need to best manage that scenario? First initial report: conditions, actions, needs. And then of course you want to take command on most situations. Conditions, actions, needs. And then you do a 360 report, which basically after doing a 360, you just repeat that same report. So if nothing else, you can go into a size up scenario and say, here's the conditions, here's the actions, here's the needs. Conditions: I have a house that's on fire. I'm going to put some water on that fire. I'm going to need some more water. and some more resources to best manage the situation. Do a lap around the fire. I just did a 360. The fire is in the basement. It's a walkout basement. I'm going to move my hose line to the back of the building, and I'm going to need some, and I'm going to do an interior offensive attack, offensive strategy. There's more things to add, but as long as you do conditions, actions, needs, 360, conditions, actions, needs, that's the most fundamental part. So here we are. Here is the three. So there's one for structure fire. And this is where you see offensive versus defensive strategy. You have the building, the problem, the location, the task, the location, the objective, the water supply. It does get more in depth, but if nothing else, here's the conditions. Here's my actions. This is what I need. I did my 360. Here's the conditions. Here's my actions. This is what I need. Here we are. We got a wildfire. Here's the conditions. I've got a 1 acre wildfire in grass and brush with a moderate rate of spread. The rate of, there's currently no exposures other than the hillside. There is a power line that is going to be threatened in a few hundred feet from the fire. My action is I'm going to do a direct attack. I'm located off the side of the highway. My objective is to anchor and flank this fire and catch it before it gets to the power lines. I am on tank water. I'm going to need a water tender shuttle. I'm going to need to upgrade the assignment to a working wildland fire, and I'm going to establish command. Follow-up report. We were able to, we did confirm this is getting closer to the power lines. There will be power lines overhead if we don't catch this fire. We have managed to make some progress on the fire, but we have yet to contain it. The action is same, or we're going to change. And then the location, we're going to continue from the highway on the east side of the fire. The needs is we're going to need a helicopter to see overhead, notify the power company so that they can kill the power lines, anything else that you're going to need, and then a TAC channel. Size up. What are the conditions? What are the actions? What are the needs? So I don't need to get into depth. Again, this is only 5 minutes of fire, but realize conditions, actions, needs, 360, conditions, actions, needs. And there is more things to add, but at the basic level, don't get too complicated. Don't get too carried away with all the different language and terminology and things that you have to know for each of these specific things. So you can see again, an MVA, conditions. I have a car crash. I'm going to extricate and stabilize and then extricate. I'm going to need an extra ambulance and law enforcement and traffic control. I'm establishing command. Follow-up report. This is confirmed 2 vehicles, 1 person dead, 2 people critically injured. Special hazards. There's some gas that leaked, so I pulled the hose line from my engine. We're going to continue to extricate. We have a hose line pulled. We're going to need an extra ambulance and a medical helicopter for the critically injured patient. Also notify Department of Transportation to help with traffic, and maybe a if you have some type of counseling or support since there is a fatality. TAC channel, we're going to move it to a TAC channel. So just a word on TAC channels, depending on how the radios work within the area that you're at, a lot of times it's best to wait until your follow-up report before moving to a TAC channel, because a lot of times with radio frequencies, at least the time of this recording, is that they might not reach as far. So if you switch to a TAC channel, a lot of times that frequency isn't hitting a tower and then getting signaled out with more strength. So a lot of times the TAC channel just goes from radio to radio. And so you have, if you do that too early, there might be incoming resources that miss some critical information. So my recommendation is you don't go to a TAC channel right away. You do the TAC channel after your 360. That being said, if you're just doing a size up and you mention the TAC channel during your kind of like a assessment center size up, it might sound good to do it there. Say, hey, we're switching to a TAC channel. I've just noticed in the area I work, sometimes I've switched to a TAC channel too early, or I've been responding to an incident. They switch to a TAC channel And all of a sudden I can't hear that traffic until I get closer to that incident. A little bit of a side tangent. Final piece of this, and then we're going to bring it to a close. This is 5 + 5 minutes of fire, is this resource list. So these are 2 tools. They're guidelines. They work great for me. I've helped a lot of other people that like the simplicity of these size up sheets to keep with them, because it's really helpful that if you've ever done the blue card training, it's kind of similar to that, but not exact, but it follows. For structure fire, it's kind of similar. For the wildland is, in my opinion, it's a lot easier for the wildland stuff. So for the incident resource list, this is just a way to organize the resources that are responding to your incident. Then once they get on scene, where they're located, what their assignment is, and then just a simple basic sheet to follow. This is one of many that are out there, but I included this because it's really helped me. It's simple. You just, as you're getting dispatched, you're writing out the resources that are responding. You're keeping track of their location. You're looking at their assignment, and then you can redirect them or give them different assignments as needed, or you can do your CAN reports or accountability reports to make sure everybody's staying on track. You're not losing anybody, and there's good communication throughout it. So at the end of this scenario, you can give a size up. It's common in a lot of these scenarios is they'll say, okay, the incident's over. Now give me a summary of where all your resources are at. And so if you have this sheet, it'll be like, this one's here. The last time I talked to him, they were working on horizontal ventilation. This one was interior, doing a fire attack. And the other one was my rig team or my support crew. And then this one is on at staging or on deck, whatever terminology is. So anyway, incident resource list is here. The shift prep sheets are here, and this went way longer. This is the last of this 5 minutes of fire in terms of the practical tools. I'll do one more. I'm actually going to give you one more recording in the series to give the references. And I might do one more on the testimonials of who this has worked for. But in terms of the tools, that's it. This one's longer than 5 minutes, but I hope that it was worth your time. I hope that you found it valuable. And I have a lot of fun with these sheets because I like keeping things super, super simple, because when you're faced with a stressful situation, if you can keep it as simple as possible, it helps to, you don't want something to get way complicated and make it more stressful than it already is. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.